Hey guys, we're gonna look at Photoshop 7. I'm gonna show you how to make a background real quick. So first things first, when you make a new document, if you're gonna make a background for your computer, you gotta know the right size. So the first thing, the easiest way to get the right size is to take a screenshot of your computer. If you do that and it copies a screenshot to your clipboard, Photoshop actually knows the size of whatever's on your clipboard. So mine's 19 by 20 by 1080, but if I screenshot something else, copy, and I do a new document on that, so that's exactly the size of the screenshot I took. So now I'm going to do print screen again. I'm just pushing the print screen on my keyboard, file new, same size as my screen. So if I paste now, that is my screen. Whoop. So let's first start off, how do you get pictures you want onto here? So I saved some pictures off from DeviantArt. So let's open those bad boys up. So I got some stock images from some artists on there. Stock images are stuff that other people took and they let you use it. So let's start with this chick. Drag her head onto there. Her head is way too big for my desire. So I'm going to minimize my view. Control and minus. So up here, this zooms in and out. So I'm doing control with the minus key and control with the plus key, like up by the backspace. There's like a minus and a plus. The reason I'm zooming out like that is because I know her picture is a lot bigger. So by pushing Control T, I get this transform box, and now I can freely size her. And she looks pretty good like that. So I'm going to zoom back in, so back to 100, and I'm going to be working on this at like 50%. So next thing, I'm going to delete the background from her. So I'm going to use this magic wand tool. 20 happens to be the perfect size for her. This tolerance, so if I set this to 2, it's only going to click that. If I set it to 50, it's going to select too much. So 20 is a perfect size for her. This tolerance is like how tolerant of it is how tolerant is Photoshop of like the difference in colors. So 20 happens to be perfect because I can just click through here. By holding shift, I can add to my current selection. So that's super easy. That's actually why I picked this photo, because I knew it would be super easy to get the background out of. So I just pushed delete to delete that. That's a good way to delete it. So that's one way to delete stuff. To select or to deselect, you can go up to select, deselect, or you can just push Control D. That gets you out of that select mode. So we've gotten her taken care of. I don't need this picture anymore, so I'm going to close it. I'm going to actually do this picture last, so I'm going to move it down here. I don't want to mess with that picture yet either. So I want to mess with this castle. And let's say I only want part of the castle. So let's say I only want just the castle. Instead of moving the whole thing over, I'm just going to move this little part of it. Now that made a new layer right here. Maybe I want the new castle behind her. So now it's behind her. And that makes for kind of a crappy background, but that is a background with a background on it. But let's make this a little more interesting. So let's say I want to delete the inside of her head, make sure her thinking about this castle. So I could just come in here with this eraser tool and start erasing her head. That's kind of cool. But now that's kind of permanent. If I wanted to undo that, I couldn't really do that. So a better way to erase stuff is with this mask tool down here. It's on the bottom of the layers palette. It's called the mask tool. And we're going to do the same thing, erase part of her head. And then I'm going to click this castle, and I'm going to shrink this castle down behind her head right there. Hold shift, not control. Control T, shift, and there we go. Bringing that castle way down there, right behind her little head. No, I didn't get. So see, I didn't get quite enough of the castle, so let's. There we go. Alright, so see what I'm talking about? I might have deleted too much of her hair right there. So I'm actually going to come in here And I can undo my eraser by just painting white. So right now I'm erasing and black is the background. So if I switch this and make white the background, I can just erase the erase. It's called a mask, so I'm going to hold Alt really quick to click on this mask. But basically I'm just painting white or painting black. White or black. Black erases, white doesn't. So if I just do that, see, that's too much. So I'm going to switch back to white. Oh, crap. See, now I'm painting on her actual ear, which is not what I want. I want to make sure I'm selected on this. And it doesn't have to be super black and white like that either. You can drag this opacity down and make it like a softer blend if you want. And then for the castle, I'm actually going to do the same thing. Mask it and erase the castle that I don't want. I'm going to bump this back up. Erase the castle that I don't want. So that looks kind of cool, right? There's her head. She's thinking about the castle. Now another thing we can do is, let's say I want to change that castle to match her color. So I can do Control U, which is the same thing as image adjust hue saturation. Hue changes the color of things. So red, blue, it changes like the color. Saturation changes the intensity of that color. And then lightness changes how much white or how much black. I'm actually going to leave lightness at 0, and I kind of like the way that looks. Maybe bump it up the hue a little bit more. So now I get this blue castle that kind of blends into her head. If I want to blend it in more, I can just go back to her and make this soft again and blend it in a little more to her head. So that's the benefit of these masks, is you can really control what they're doing later down the road. That's why it's much better than just straight up deleting crap. So I got the castle, I got the girl. Now let's put this background behind her. So I'm just going to copy the background by dragging it over, sizing it with Control T. Oh, I keep holding Control instead of Shift. Oh, so now we have a problem. The background's in front of the girl, so we just have to drag this down. Oh, now it's in front of the castle. Drag it down more, and there we go. Background is in the back. And let's actually change the color of this too. So Control U. We're gonna drop the saturation down just a tiny bit so it matches kind of her skin tone. Make it a little more pink by changing the hue a little bit. And I think that looks pretty cool. So I'm gonna get rid of this now because I don't need it anymore. And here's my last picture, these clouds. I'll drag these over. And I'm actually gonna put these in front of the girl. And I'm going to flip them with Edit, Transform, flip horizontal, Control T again to scale them up. And so one of the things I like to do for stuff like this, I'm going to get rid of this original, is these layer styles right here. These things do awesome stuff. So I click on it and I usually just click the down arrow. See, it's giving me like really cool effects. And I couldn't really guess that it's going to do this. Like, I know it's going to change it, but I don't really know what it's going to look like. So I just kind of like scroll through it and see if anything like looks super awesome that I want to like pursue. Like, that's kind of cool. I think that looks cool. Like, see, the clouds are like up there with her castle. That just happened to be lucky. Like, I didn't plan that. The clouds just happened to be up there with the castle. So that's pretty cool. So I might take a Control A, so select all, Control Shift C, and copy this and paste it. And then I think I'm going to click back on this and keep playing with this. So what I just did is copied copied the merged look of the layer, and now I'm gonna continue doing that and see if I like anything else. Like I like that one too, so I'm gonna do the same. Control A, Control Shift C, and then Control V. So what I'm doing is taking these copies of the image and pasting them above and then turning them on and off with these eyeballs. The reason I'm doing that is because I can do the same thing again. So if I turn this one on and I mess with any of the stuff below it, it doesn't mess with that. But the reason I made a copy of it is because then I can do the same thing with this. I can apply these layer things again and see if this gives me different results than before. And it doesn't really, but this one might. Like that's kind of cool. So let's say I like that, but I don't like it all the way, so I could actually dim it down. Or maybe I only like the part that's not on her head, so I can make another mask and like mask out her head. And to make it so you can see more what I'm doing, I'm actually going to change the color of this too. So Control U. See, so everything I didn't mask out is actually being affected by what I'm doing now. Does that make sense? Hopefully that makes sense. So actually, so I had this as a copy. I don't really like it now, so I'm gonna like turn it off. Oh, also you'll see I screwed up and I didn't put the clouds all the way in the right spot, so I'm left with a gap here. So one cool thing you could do is do a clone. What this does is you can copy parts of the image. If I hold the Alt key, I can like select part of it and paint that part of it another place on the image. Or you could do it on a new layer even. That's even cooler because then you can mess with it. So I'm going to select her eye and repaint her face right here. Since that's on a new layer, I can actually like adjust this individually now, which is super cool. So see, now that's separate and I can adjust that individually. And I can even change the color of it. And then another mask, and let's say I don't like this blue stuff I copied, so I can erase that now. Because see, that made it orange. So this is turning out to be kind of cool, but it is kind of muted. So see how it's like kind of muted? It's like kind of like not super bright. Let's turn this crap off. So see, hers is like way more intense once all this junk's off. So what I might want to do now is take another copy of all this. So Control C with all that crap hidden. And then go up here and Control V the original onto there. And then I can do this layer style thing again. It doesn't really help in this particular case. I mean, I guess it sort of does. That's cool, but it's like way too dark for me. So one of the things I could do is do another Control A, Control C, Control V. And then I could mess with the layers and say like I want the midtones to be a lot lighter, the whites to be a lot lighter. So that's not really working for me either. So I'm going to delete that layer, undo this effect that I have on there just by pushing the up and down arrow and just scrolling through these. And really, I really like this. So I'm just going to tweak this a little bit, make it a little tiny more saturated. Maybe a little tiny more pink. And then I'm actually going to mess with the levels. So Control L. What this does is it lets you like make certain things pop. So if I wanted the blacks to be the darks to be a little darker, and then the mid-tones to be a little brighter, and the lights to be a lot lighter. So see, I'm controlling like darks versus lights versus mid-tones here. And I can just kind of make it pop just by slightly adjusting those. So now we're getting kind of cool. So maybe somewhere in between this is better. So maybe I could just dim this out a little bit. Or maybe now it has a different effect now that I've changed the color of it. So that's kind of cool. And then I can select the whole thing again and paste it on top and maybe adjust the saturation more. I don't know. There we go. Like that's kind of a cool background. Add more mask to it. So this is really just masking and layer adjustments for this one. That's how I do most of my stuff. Most of these backgrounds anyways. I don't necessarily like this one, but you get the idea. You could keep messing with it, keep messing with it. If you don't like all the crap you did, you can undo it easily because you've been making copies of everything. I'm tired, so I'm gonna go to bed. Have fun.